Okay, so greetings everybody. It's very nice to see you all here on this wonderful day, coming in for the presentation about the MCP at the LHC, coordinating the world's largest machine. My name is Georg Šumailov, and I'm the developer for CERN at the group of ENAs. Now, normally, I don't really do scheduling, I work on other things, but this is what I did part-time. Now, what am I going to talk about? So, first of all, how LHC scheduling works, what is an MCP server, and how the MCP server can help schedule things at CERN. Now, scheduling is a difficult task. Here in this wonderful image, you can see a linear planning for the year-end technical stop of the LHC. And you can really see that there's a lot of things going on, and a lot of activities are planned at different locations of the LHC. Now, this is difficult for many reasons, and one of the reasons is because LHC is not always accessible. So you can only go down in the tunnel and do your job, intervention, or any kind of work is when there's no beams in the LHC, because if there are beams, then it's fairly radioactive and you can die. So it's a bad thing. So therefore, if you really need to do some kind of a maintenance, change of equipment, and so on, you need to make sure that the machine is off. So, but the main idea of CERN, at least for the LHC, is to do physics. And you can only do physics when the machine is running. So it's in the CERN's great interest to keep the LHC on. And as a result, the timeframes where you can actually go down and do things at the collider are fairly short, depending on the period. So it can be days, it can be months, and rarely it can be years. So apart from the time constraints, there's also physical constraints. So for example, on this image you can see PS, removal of a magnet. So let's say a coordinator is coordinating or scheduling two tasks. One is for removing the magnet, and the other one is, for example, for maintaining the magnet behind the one that is being removed. So, of course, if those two activities are planned at the same time, then there's going to be a conflict between them, because there's literally people in front of the magnet where it needs to be moved. Additionally, there's safety constraints. For example, if you're planning a test of the emergency alarm, then you have to shut this alarm off temporarily and then do your tests. So the people who are working in the machine are going to temporarily lose the safety net of the emergency alarm. And this is not good. So you cannot have people working in there while the emergency alarm is off. So this is also a constraint. Now, additionally, there's technical constraints. For example, imagine you're working on a power converter and you need to do some things, and then you shut it off. And then it also shuts off equipments adjacent to it. So the ones that located in the circuit. So therefore, you cannot schedule people working on the adjacent equipment if there's no power. So this is one more thing to think about. Additionally, for example, if you have Tom Hanks in the Atlas, he can also be a constraint. Because, for example, you don't want like two dudes drilling a big hole in the wall at 200 decibels while there's a VIP in the room, for example. Now, scheduling is an iterative process. You need to attend different meetings, you need to phone people, email people, adjust the planning, etc., and kind of collect information about which constraints are being made by different teams. And this all comes down to the source of truth, the MS project. So this is a big, big table with all of the tasks in regards to the LHC. So there's thousands upon thousands of tasks, and in the left side you can see that this is quite a big table. So whenever you're trying to find a new slot to put in a new task, you will have to go through it, and this is not at least a very visually pleasant task. So I thought that maybe we can find another medium to talk to the MS project so that you don't have to really get molested by this big table. Now, so the idea is the model context protocol. So essentially, just a brief 101 of what it means. Let's say you have a Claude, a Cursor, or a local LLM acting as an MCP client, and then you have your own application. And then you can expose your application's APIs by building an MCP server on top, so that you can interact with the application's data and the APIs using, for example, English, like you would do in ChatGPT. And now in our case, the data is the big table of the MS project. Then we have the Java application sitting on top, which is scheduling tools backend, and it's connected to the database. And now the idea is to make an MCP server on top so that we can expose those APIs and then use at the local LLM at CERN. So the one on premise, or the one running in your machine, for example, or the one elsewhere. Now, naturally, I went out and asked LHC coordinator if there's any use case that could be potentially useful, if he would imagine that he could talk to this MS project table in English. And so we got one use case, for example, for planning an activity X in a specific location Y for a specific duration. And this would be useful, for example, for avoiding tasks which can be conflicting between each other or have some certain constraints. So, for example, instead of just going through the table and finding like which tasks are at this time at this location, you could just type it in and then get an answer. So, okay, let's start implementing that. So, MCP server itself is a fairly lean thing, especially with the libraries available now. So it's essentially just a Python file with a bunch of library imports, and this is a snippet of the tool that the MCP server exposes for the MCP client to call, so the AI essentially. And so this one is a very rudimentary one. So essentially it just calls the backend API to get all of the tasks for a specific project, and this project can be, for example, LHC, and then it just dumps it to the AI to solve the scheduling conflicts. So, for example, the output of this tool could look something like this. Here you have 2 tasks, but there can be many more. As I said, there's thousands of tasks, and then each task has a lot of fields, like a lot of fields. And even though this kind of works, there's a few problems with it. For example, unnecessary fields present, so which could bloat your context window, and context window essentially is the chat that you open in Cursor or Claude or whatever. And if this context window gets filled up, then the LLM tries to quickly give you an answer because it's running out of size that it can operate in. And if you're passing on unnecessary extra tokens, then it makes the output much worse. Now, we can do something a bit better. So, for example, we can shape the data. So by removing fields which are not necessary, we can shrink the amount of data being sent to the MCP client and therefore get a better output. So the output of that would look something like this. As you can see, it's much more lean now. So there's less data getting passed onto the MCP clients, and now we have only necessary fields, and we're less likely to run out of context window size, which is great. But there is still one problem. So from the talk before about that LLMs can figure out schedules, I guess it kind of overlaps here, because we're really shifting the heavy lifting part onto the MCP client, because essentially we have a lot of tasks with the durations and whatever, and we kind of hope that the LLM can figure out which ones are in the duration specified by the end user, which ones are conflicting, etc. So essentially we're just kind of hoping that it will solve itself, and this is not good. So we can take it a step further, and now, apart from shaping the tasks, we can actually have the logic for solving the conflicts in the MCP server itself or the backend. But in this case, it's in the MCP server for simplicity's sake. And essentially now you can see at the bottom that we're finding like different conflicts for different tasks. And instead of LLM doing it, we're doing it now ourselves programmatically. And the tool output could look something like this. Now, instead of potential thousands of tasks, we have only one JSON conflict. And now this is way, way better, because the LLM can now just reason upon the signals. So the LLM knows, the MCP client knows that we have one conflict, and now we can just kind of pass this information to the end user. So just to kind of fulfill this case, which was requested by our LHC coordinator, here's one from the MCP client outlook. So we're asking for to check conflicting tasks for a specific project. In this case, is the LHC for location LSS L2 on 2nd of February 2026. Then you can see that it calls our MCP tool with the specific parameters, and then it found 4 conflicting tasks. So we should do a better job at finding a better slot, because here there's many, and this is not a suitable day for this activity. So instead of looking at the table, you could just type it out and get your answer. So the main takeaways out of this talk is that there are use cases in scheduling which can be solved using MCPs. Logic should stay in code. Don't let the LLMs kind of compute the truth for you, because it's non-deterministic. It can hallucinate and it can give you like bad information. So have the logic inside your code. And the MCP tool outputs should have clear signals for LLMs to use. For example, this can be used for analytics, like how many specific tasks did one team make, and then you kind of calculate that on the code side instead of, again, LLM doing it for you. Thank you very much for listening to this little talk, and yeah, appreciate it. Now, I don't know, does this allow for questions, or is the time out? Big boss, okay. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, sir. Yes, so that's a good question. So initially, if I would go like with a very simple solution, then one of the kind of ways how you can better the output is by telling the LLM in the instructions that, okay, these are our constraints, please don't do this. And this can better the output, but then again, it may or may not be taken into account. But for example, if you do that programmatically, then this would be, I mean, yes, this is just code solving this issue, but on the LLM side, it did help, but then again, it's a bit non-deterministic. Any more questions? Yes, sir?
Yeah. Why use an LLM and burn tokens if you're basically just computing everything through a script, and you could also present that directly to the user instead of formatting it with the LLM?
Yes, that's a very good question. So the thing is that this one was a specific use case proposed by the coordinator, but we can expose different APIs, and we don't know, like for example, each use case of the coordinator. And by having an orchestrator in terms of an MCP client, it can call multiple tools and then combine the answers and give like a specific answer tailored for you. So you wouldn't have to need to code for their specific use case. Anything else, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, cool. Thank you very much again, and have a nice day.